I remember the exact moment my life split into two before the courtroom. And after it. It wasn't when the judge spoke. It wasn't even when my husband avoided my eyes. It was when I realized the man I had trusted for 50 years had already decided I no longer belonged in my own life. I was 72 years old when I first heard the words, "You'll be out of the house within 30 days. Not from a stranger. Not from a lawyer. From the man who once held my hand through every storm. His name is Richard. And for most of my life, he was my home. We met when I was 19. Back then, he had this quiet confidence about him, never loud, never demanding. Just steady, safe, the kind of man you could build a life around without ever questioning if the ground beneath you would crack. And I did build my life around him. We raised two children together, Emily and Daniel. I still remember the tiny blue house we bought when Emily was born. It had peeling paint and a crooked mailbox. But Richard stood in the doorway that first night, smiling like he had just handed me the world. Someday, he told me, we'll have a bigger place. Something worthy of you. I believed him. I always believed him. And decades later, we did move into that bigger place, a beautiful $3.5 million home overlooking the lake. It had wide windows that caught the sunset just right, a kitchen where I baked birthday cakes for grandchildren, and a quiet study where Richard spent most of his evenings reading. It wasn't just a house. It was every memory we had built together, layered into walls and floors and light. At least, that's what I thought. The changes didn't come all at once. They never do. At first, it was small things. Richard started spending more time alone. He'd close the study door more often. Take longer walks without telling me where he was going. When I asked, he'd brush it off with a tired smile. Just getting some air, he'd say. I didn't question it. After 50 years, you don't interrogate the person you love. You trust them. You give them space when they need it. But then there were the phone calls. Late at night was asleep. His voice would drift faintly down the hallway. Soft, careful, almost rehearsed. One night, I got up for a glass of water and paused outside the study door. I wasn't trying to listen. I told myself that. But I couldn't help it. I'll handle it, he said quietly. Just give me a little more time. There was a pause. Then a softer voice on the other end. I couldn't make out the words. I know what I promised, Richard replied. I haven't forgotten. I remember standing there, my hand trembling slightly against the wall. Something in his tone felt unfamiliar. Not angry. Not guilty. Just distant. Like he was speaking a language I didn't understand anymore. When I walked in, he ended the call immediately. Who was that? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. Wrong number, he said without hesitation. He didn't even look at me. The kind that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. But I ignored it. Because what kind of wife doubts her husband after half a century together? Weeks passed. Then months. Emily started visiting less often. At first, she said she was busy with work. Daniel stopped calling as frequently too. But I assumed it was life catching up with them. Families grow, people get busy, it happens. Still, something felt off. One Sunday afternoon, I called Emily myself. Sweetheart, I haven't seen you in weeks, I said. Is everything all right? There was a pause on the other end. Yeah, Mom, just a lot going on. Her voice sounded careful. Too careful. You can always come over, I added gently. I made your favorite pie yesterday. Another pause. Longer this time. I'll let you know, she said. She never did. That evening, I mentioned it to Richard while we sat in the living room. The sunset painted the walls gold, just like it always had. But for some reason, it felt colder. Emily hasn't been around much, I said. Have you talked to her? He didn't look up from his book. She's busy, he replied flatly. Daniel too, I pressed softly. It's not like them. Richard sighed, closing the book with more force than necessary. They're adults, he said. Stop worrying about things that don't matter, said Stung. Our children had always mattered. To both of us, or at least. I thought they did. I started noticing more things after that. Papers on his desk that he quickly shuffled away when I entered. Mail addressed only to him, marked confidential. A bank statement I accidentally saw numbers that didn't quite add up. One afternoon, I gathered the courage to ask him directly. Richard, is everything all right with us? He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And for a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or hesitation. But it disappeared just as quickly. Of course it is, he said. Why wouldn't it be? I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. So I nodded. I smiled. I told myself I was imagining things. Because the alternative was too painful to consider. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when everything changed. I was in the kitchen, making tea, when the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the house, sharp and unexpected. Richard was already at the door when I stepped into the hallway. Two men stood outside, both holding folders. Mr. and Mrs. Carter. One of them asked. Richard nodded. I'm sorry to intrude, the man continued. But we're here to deliver official court documents. My heart skipped. Court documents? I repeated, confused. Richard didn't say a word. He simply took the envelope from the man's hand. And signed. Just like that. No hesitation. No rise. As if he had been expecting this moment all along. I felt the air shift around me. Richard. What is this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. So I nodded. I smiled. I told myself I was imagining things. Because the alternative was too painful to consider. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when everything changed. I was in the kitchen, making tea, when the doorbell rang. The sound echoed through the house, sharp and unexpected. Richard was already at the door when I stepped into the hallway. Two men stood outside, both in suits, both holding folders. Mr. and Mrs. Carter. One of them asked. Richard nodded. I'm sorry to intrude, the man continued. But we're here to deliver official court documents. My heart skipped. Court documents? I repeated, confused. Richard didn't say a word. He simply took the envelope from the man's hand. And signed. Just like that. No hesitation. No rise. As if he had been expecting this moment all along. I felt the air shift around me. Richard. What is this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He just stared at the envelope for a long second. Then finally turned to me. And in his eyes, I saw something I had never seen before. Not anger. Not sadness. Distance. Cold, deliberate distance. You should sit down, he said. My fingers tightened around the edge of the wall. Richard, I said again, a little stronger this time. What is this? He exhaled slowly. Then he said the words that would unravel everything I thought I knew. It's a property claim, he said. For the house. I blinked. I don't understand, I whispered. He had my gaze his expression unreadable. You will, he replied quietly. And as the envelope slipped from his hand onto the table between us, I realized something far more terrifying than losing a house. I was about to lose the truth about the man I had loved my entire life. I remember staring at that envelope like it was a trap I had fallen into. My hands shook so badly I could barely pick it up. The seal was official, cold, and final looking. Property claim court of law. Richard was watching me, quiet. Tu, haircut. Sit signs. It screamed more than words ever could. I don't understand, I stammered, my voice cracking. We built this life together. How can you do this to me? He finally spoke, slowly, deliberately, as if choosing each word like a scalpel. It's not about you anymore. It's about the house. The children. The family. I'm taking control now. I felt my stomach drop. My head was spinning. This was the man who once promised to be my partner through everything, who held my hand through childbirth, through our children's heartbreaks, through the loss of friends and family, and now, he was turning into someone I didn't recognize. Control? I echoed, my voice trembling. Richard, this isn't you. Who are you right now? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the window, looking out at the garden we'd planted together decades ago. The same garden where we'd hosted birthday parties, graduation parties, even Emily's wedding reception. It all looked the same, but it felt different now. I realized then that I wasn't seeing it with new eyes. I was seeing it for the first time. Through betrayal. I've thought about this for a long time, he said finally, still staring out the window. And I've made my decision. Your decision? I whispered, feeling the walls of my world collapse around me. The house is ours. It belongs to both of us. He turned slowly, and in his eyes I saw something that froze me. Certainty. A calm, almost cold certainty. You're too old to keep managing it, he said simply. And frankly, I think it's best if you step aside. For everyone's sake. I couldn't breathe. The words pierced me more sharply than any weapon ever could. Not only was he trying to take the house, but he was already cutting me out of my own family. My children. My home. Everything I had built. Richard, you're saying I can't see Emily or Daniel? My voice broke. You can't just forbid me from seeing my own children. He shrugged, a simple motion, as if dismissing my outrage like a pesky fly. They're grown adults. They'll make their own choices, he said. And honestly, you need to focus on yourself. I felt my knees go weak. I stumbled to a chair, my hands clutching the armrests. I could barely make sense of the words, the betrayal, the quiet, deliberate dismantling of the life I thought I knew. Focus on myself? I whispered, my voice small and fragile. Richard, this isn't about me. This is about us. Our family. Our life. He shook his head, the shadow of a smirk playing across his lips, though his eyes remained cold. I made my choice, he said. And you'll have to make yours. The silence that followed was unbearable. Every sound in the house felt magnified the tick of the clock, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the soft patter of rain against the windows. It all felt like a countdown to my own exile. I wanted to scream. I wanted to beg. I wanted to fight, but I didn't know where to start. 52 years of marriage, 2 children, a house filled with memories worth millions. And in one moment, it felt like it all belonged to someone else. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet, not in front of him. I needed clarity. I needed answers, Richard, why? I asked finally, my voice almost a whisper. Why would you do this to me? To us? He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And for the first time, I saw the cold edge beneath the man I had trusted for half a century. I never said it was about love, he said quietly. I said it was about survival. And in that instant, I understood the truth I had refused to see for months. C'est coals. C'est secrecy. C'est distance. The slow, quiet severing of my connection with our children. Richard wasn't the man I married anymore. He had become someone else entirely. And worse, he had planned this all along. I realized then that my fight wasn't just for a house. It was for my family. For my dignity. For the life I had built and believed in. I wanted to call Emily, to warn her, to tell her what was happening. But the envelope. Ces words. The sense of doom. Stopped Emmy. I didn't know how deep his betrayal ran. I sank back into the chair, my hands trembling. My mind raced with questions, but there was no answer I could reach. Only one thought kept repeating itself. He is taking everything from me. And I don't even know why. Yet. Then Richard, calm as ever, walked past me toward the study, closing the door softly but with finality. I was left alone in the living room, the envelope still on the table. Rain streaked the windows. Shadows stretched across the floor. And in the silence, I realized that nothing in my life would ever be the same. I picked up the envelope. My hands shook as I tore it open, revealing papers that spelled out the beginning of my nightmare. And just as I read the first line, I heard his voice from behind the closed study door. Make sure you read it all, before you even think about fighting me. I knew then that the betrayal wasn't just financial. It was personal. And it was only beginning. I didn't know it yet. But the war for my life, my family, and my home had just begun. And the man I had loved my entire life had become my greatest enemy. If you want, I can also craft a highly optimized title, description, and hashtags for this two-part video series to maximize engagement on YouTube. It would fit perfectly with the suspenseful tone of Cold Vengeance. Do you want me to do that next?